Good day to you, wherever you might be. Welcome to Three Guys in the Bible. We are recording this on May 2nd. That is important because of the topic of the day. We are going to discuss voting today and our role in that process as believers in Christ. And so either you're going to turn us off right now because you don't care or don't want to hear anything about such topics, or you're going to listen and share this with a whole lot of people, and that's what we would love for you to be able to do, because we feel pretty strongly about our role as believers in this world, why God has us here, not just overall, but you must understand that God has you here right now in this moment for a specific purpose. And one of those purposes is to be involved in the processes that go around this time of year in our country. And just in case you didn't know, on Tuesday, I believe that will be May 7th, Tuesday, May 7th, is our primary. If you are in Indiana, your primary is Tuesday, May 7th. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about voting. I'm thinking back when I was a kid. I was only 17 when I graduated high school in 1994, so I had to wait a bit before I could get into the old voting booth back in the day. I think we were connecting dots. We were drawing a black line on a card the first time I voted. Ken,
we just used a hammer and chisel and chiseled it right into stone.
The stone, and they just tabulated those stones.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, you've always lived in the city, so are you a touchscreen guy?
No, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember, honestly, but I'm pretty sure it was still a write-in ballot, I think.
Really?
At least my first 2 years.
Huh.
Maybe the last time it might have been electronic.
Do you remember your experience the first time you voted?
I was nervous.
You were nervous? Yeah.
Oh, man, I was real nervous because I'm going to mess it up. And
yeah.
It was a big line, and yeah.
I'd already been in the Army for a short while when I was able to vote the first time.
That's great.
Nice. Already serving the country.
Already serving my country.
Finally getting the privilege to.
Yes. My mom and dad had to sign for me to go in. I went in right after high school. And so it was always, a very important thing, something I took very seriously, because I was actually voting for the commander-in-chief that would be over my job, basically.
Yeah, you, literally.
My really, really big boss. That's who I was voting for. So I took it very seriously, and I don't remember back then as to how it was, whether it was a pencil or a Chad or.
You were probably punching. You know what? Actually, I think that's what mine was. I had a little stylus.
Yeah.
And you punched it through the card. Yep, that was the first time I voted. It had
I think it was the hanging Chads back then.
That was the year 2000 when that happened in Florida. But yes, I do remember that. I began mowing lawns when I was a kid. We talked about mowing in an earlier podcast, but as a result, I listened to a lot of political things on the radio and stuff like that in mowing lawns, because I hated commercials, and so listening to music with commercials. David, you don't know this, but we actually had radio stations back in the day that had commercial breaks that used to last 3 to 5 minutes, and now if you've ever turned on the real radio, commercial breaks are up to 15 or 20 minutes long. It is insane. I have no idea how anyone can actually listen to that. But
I don't listen to radio anymore.
No, so I remember going in to vote for the first time and kind of being fairly well studied as to who the candidates were and what some of their beliefs were and stances on different issues and things like that. So
I would say that you were an oddity.
I always have been.
Anybody going in well prepared and researched, I can see that with you, Chris. I think that's probably an oddity.
My first time, it was definitely a. I think I saw his name on one of the signs, and that might have been similar to what I did.
Yeah. Well, and people used to be commercials on TV that were even funny or even relevant to their stances. Now they
smear the other person.
Yeah, now it's just attack, kill everybody else, don't vote for anybody. It's definitely has changed. It definitely has changed.
I think that would be one of the, if I could change one thing, I don't like watching all the ads and TV's much like radio now. We don't even see that many ads anymore. But when I'm watching over-the-air television, just all the ads, just one right after another during this season, and most of the time whatever candidate they're trying to get you to vote for, they're only mentioned one time at the end because they're smearing everybody else along the way. And
so-and-so approves this ad.
Yeah,
that's all they needed.
Only time you heard their name.
Exactly, yeah. And, there's so much negativity, and I'm like, okay, so you've just spent, 30 to 60 seconds talking about how bad this other guy is, but I would rather know how good your candidate is. That's what I want to know.
Maybe he's not that good. And that's why they have to.
That might be. Yeah, there's no good talking points. So all we're going to do is try to tear down the other. And how many times have we preached those sermons? Is that if somebody's tearing you down, it's trying to make themselves look good.
Yeah. Yeah, and God's focus in the spiritual world is on the two greatest commandments are both do, not do nots.
Yeah. Exactly,
and so it is, and I think in our current world, if you as a candidate just decided to be positive and just tell people this is what I stand for, this is how I'm going to vote on issues, these are my priorities, and not even mention the other candidate, that might actually gain you a lot of favor with a whole lot of people now, because we're all so tired of it. However,
they've hypothetically got my vote already.
They have. We you know what? We will endorse that candidate.
Yes.
That's the only candidate we'll be endorsing in this podcast. The hypothetical candidate who tells us what they actually believe in and are for. Although we have to put parameters on that too, because they might be believing in and for things that we totally disagree with. So, okay, never mind. We don't endorse that hypothetical candidate either.
There's an asterisk.
There's an asterisk. Very large one. All right, so here's the thing. We live in a world then with all this negativity. Everybody's hating on politics. Every poll's awful. Everybody's got a disapproval rating higher than their approval rating. So what do people do? Well, they sit out. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't care. Yeah, they're just
one
sick
vote's
of it.
Not going to matter.
One vote's not going to matter, etc. Every excuse you can think of in the world. Is that what God would want us to do in the culture in which we live?
So you're saying that we have to involve God in our political process?
Oh my goodness, yes. I'm actually saying that we should involve our Heavenly Father and our Savior, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, in our political thinking and actions. Yes.
That's a good idea.
Chris, doesn't that violate church and state?
Well, do we really want to get into that? Because I can tell you what the founders meant by that, because that idea was, yes, they wanted the state as far out of the church as they possibly could keep it. They never once said it. As a matter of fact, as you know, schools met in churches. We voted in churches. Everything was based around the church in our early country, not around the government. So, yes, we absolutely should involve the church in the state, clearly. So, how do we encourage people in that process?
I think the first thing, much like you said earlier, we have to be informed. And I don't think a 30-second television ad is going to give me enough information to vote for someone. And so we do have to do the research. I mean, anytime we're electing officials that are going to be somewhat in control of our counties, states, nation, we got to make sure that our beliefs or their beliefs align with ours, I guess.
Yeah, but Ken, I mean, I'm going to have to go to the library and pull up the microfilm from the old newspapers to find out who the candidate.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Actually, Chris.
No.
I think it's online now.
Oh, the
on smartphones that everyone has now.
No one uses smartphones. That technology's not going to catch on.
It does other things besides Facebook and YouTube.
It does other things besides Facebook and YouTube. Yes, it does.
You got the worldwide interweb.
It does. The process of researching used to be fairly difficult. You could maybe at the local fairgrounds they had a forum where the candidates came in or something like that, or maybe even the churches would invite in various candidates to just share an open forum, kind of thing, not endorsing, but just bring in people to share, oftentimes from opposing viewpoints even, to let people hear those. Debates, I mean, political candidates don't even show up for the debates anymore. I don't need to do that. And that's everywhere. So what are some ways that we could research this? We see the names in the yards, right? So what do we do? How do we find them?
Well, I guess it depends on how how deeply you want to be involved. You can go. We could look up what's on Google, and that will have some good information. But I find just going to the forums and trying to meet the candidates and asking them the very pointed questions. Where do you stand on this? And hopefully they give you an honest answer, and then you can base your decisions on actually talking to the person rather than relying just solely on the internet.
Yeah. And this might sound creepy to some people. I don't know, but there's a few people that use this thing called Facebook. I don't know if you're aware of that technology, but there are people, and I would guess nearly every political candidate is probably on Facebook. And especially at the local level, they're probably not hiring a PR firm to come in and scrub through their Facebook to delete all of the posts that could possibly offend or reveal anything about them. So probably you could take that sign in that yard, that name right there, just take a picture of it, when you're sitting at the stoplight, and go home, while you're sitting in the parking lot, and get on Facebook and search for that name and just see, what kind of person is this? That also might remind you to think about what you post on Facebook. What kind of person are you?
Yeah, for sure.
But
well, I mean, and you do that for. Yeah, you could do that for when you hire somebody.
Absolutely, and employers absolutely
do that. Yes,
yeah,
because you want to know what they're about.
What are they about? That's where they're going to really say, from what food they like to eat to what stores they shop at to how they believe about different things.
The fruit of their life.
It is. It is. It's as bad as it is for some things. People do reveal way too much, really, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of times
on those Facebook posts. And things, from our perspective as leaders within the church, we want to encourage our people to be a part of this process, because when we're involved, our role in this is to communicate the values, the beliefs, the ways that Jesus wants us to live. Then we take that out into the world, and we have an opportunity to seek out other people that share those beliefs, that are pursuing those same things, and endorse them, help them, vote for them, and hopefully they stay true to those beliefs, and they then will carry those into the political sphere and policy making and decision making, starting with the most local town council, county council, to the school board, to obviously then on into judgeships and statewide offices, and then national and the like. So. That is so important, and so many believers don't realize the value that has in making up our government.
So many times we as Christians, complain about the political process and those who are in political power, but what are we doing to combat that? And maybe combat's not a good word, because that has kind of a negative connotation on it, but what are we doing to get the right people in offices? And politics is not for everyone, but if we do have a strong Christian candidate, we need to be researching that as well, finding out what their true beliefs are and how they're going to conduct themselves in office. And then we as Christians need to stand behind them and support them. And make sure that we're trying to put good people in office. And I'm not saying the people in office are bad. I'm just saying that, if we're going to complain and say, oh my goodness, look how horrible this is, my question is, are you just complaining about the problem, or are you willing to do something to actually fix the problem?
Yeah.
And that's how we do it. We show up, and like you said, we vote our beliefs. We vote for those who maybe not 100% share our beliefs, but the closest to our beliefs, to move the needle back in the right direction.
Yeah, we just have to choose to vote for based on the heart of Jesus, and if you're close to him and you know him, then you're obedient to what he wants, and you're going to want what he wants as well.
Yeah.
Yep. The freedom that we have to vote. And people, Jesus doesn't care this or that or the other. Well, okay, he gave us the freedom. He put you in this place right now within this country where you still have the freedom to go and vote for the candidate that you believe is the best. And why wouldn't we want to take advantage of that freedom.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense spiritually. It doesn't make any sense to sit it out. I know there's a lot of people that look at the candidates on the list and say, yeah, but there isn't a good candidate there, so I just won't, or again, whatever. I don't think that's a responsible thing for a believer to do. I think praying about who, if that's the way you feel about the options, praying about those options and asking God to reveal it, studying His Word. We were joking earlier that yes, our belief, our truths that Jesus has revealed to us through His Word should absolutely influence our vote. We should vote our theology, not our politics. That is what we should vote. Whatever person or platform more closely aligned with our beliefs, our tenets as Christians, that is where we should be seeking to research and find out about those candidates. Those two should be completely tied together. But because we're in America and we've had that disinformation, that's a popular word these days, of the separation of church and state in that way, we think, oh, no, my political views have to be separate from my faith. I don't have an answer for that because that's so anti-Jesus. That should be your religious faith. Your faith should be intertwined in every part of your life, every decision you make, every word you speak, every action you perform. And so I don't understand how people can just remove their political views and behaviors from their faith. It just doesn't make any sense. The other conversation I've had with some folks, okay, so there's nobody running, let's say, for the local school board. There's just nobody that I could support in that regard. And especially at that local level, man, if you ever feel that way, really, really begin to pray into God, because He just might be inspiring you to be the person to be in there. Or maybe somebody that you're not interested in politics or whatever, but that person, that person would be really good in those roles, whether it's speaking, whether it's just their assertiveness, whatever it is. You see them as a leader. Don't just dismiss the process. If there's something missing, well, that might be you or somebody
in the local level. It is possible.
Absolutely.
One of my good friends was part of was on the board of schools, and he's just a normal guy, hardworking man that wanted to help his community. I mean, so it's not, if you set your mind to it, it's possible.
Yeah, and the real local election, it doesn't cost that much to be involved. And quite honestly, in our part of the world, a lot of times you might be running unopposed. Yep. So there might not even be someone else vying for that position, especially if it's a board position or a council position where there's multiple seats. You might just automatically, by being on the ticket, be involved. Not that that's a good reason to pursue it, but if you're feeling there's a need, you're being pushed by God to do that. And again, I would say, we don't know who all's listening to this. If you feel that call, a little late in the process in 2024, but talk to your pastor, talk to religious leaders that you know, and seek wise counsel and see if that might be something God might be preparing you for. We do need, Ken said it, more people of faith serving in every level of politics and bringing our faith into those dimensions. As you know, if you watch the news and see the things happening around us, people are trying to remove faith more and more from that. And our very founders told us that, well, if we're not a people of faith, this system won't work. Mm-hmm. I think we're beginning to see the fruit of that for sure.
And if we sit back and we do nothing, well, that's a forfeit.
Yeah,
that's a forfeit.
It is.
And so many times when you were talking about having people, just an average person, run for an office. And they say, yeah, but I'm not a politician, to which most people will say, hey, that's perfect.
Great.
That's perfect. We want just an average guy to come in and just make decisions that quite honestly just make sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who better to make those decisions, concerning our kids, talking about the school board. who better to make those decisions than a local parent
Yeah.
who either has had kids just come through the system or has kids currently in the system.
Some skin in the game. It's
Yeah,
where it actually
absolutely. Yeah.
His heart's for that, yeah.
Yeah. And same with the town council, the county council that exists, making those decisions about things that come in and the way things happen around your local community. It's still a true statement. Politics is local. It really is.
Yeah.
The most important things actually happen in that local level, and those then set the course for the nation. So we would just encourage people, hey, it's Tuesday coming up very soon, just a couple days away. You might not get this until Monday or even Tuesday morning. We would encourage you to go out to vote. You got several days now to do some research and find out who is on the ballot. That was something that I actually looked into for our church, was trying to figure out would there be a way to bring in some sample ballots and have people take those with them and just to see who are the candidates. And then I learned that there's a million precincts around us, and to have every possible ballot option for every would be impossible. So the simplest thing to do is to get online. It's a very simple website that you can go to if you're in Indiana, indianavoters.in.gov. indianavoters.in.gov. We'll take you to a web page where you'll see the options. You can click on a button and literally go and see your ballot in your area and who's on it. So when you step into that voting booth now, and most of us use touch screens, I think, at this point,
Yeah.
You'll know those names other than just a random road sign or billboard or commercial or whatever else. Doesn't take a lot of time, doesn't take a lot of energy, but it is so important. And that's one gift of the internet. It makes doing this research so much easier. There are organizations out there, various non-for-profits that score and judge and rank political candidates and kind of share with you what their beliefs on maybe are some core issues, especially issues of faith. We're not going to promote any of those, but I'm sure your local church and pastors could give you some of those websites to look at and just see where people stand on things. But it is essential that we are involved as believers in this process. Actually, I kind of think it's actually essential that we aren't just involved, but we're actually the ones leading the process, because we know what direction we're headed. We're not facing the world in a way where, we'll just go whatever direction the wind blows today. No, our course is very much set toward Jesus. That's what we're pursuing, and if we're leading this battle, it is somewhat of if we're leading this process, then we know the direction it's going, and that is absolutely essential to our country and our local level, states, cities, counties, schools, and everything else. So, yeah, get involved. Get involved. It's easy. I hear all these. I watch the news. I stood in line for. Have you ever stood in line? I voted in some of the biggest, most controversial presidential. I've never yet stood in line for more than maybe 2 or 3 minutes, ever.
Yep.
Terre Haute's maybe not the same as you. It wasn't fun a couple years I did it.
Really?
The line was pretty crazy, but not here though. In
Yeah.
Clark
Well,
County.
and in Indiana now, you don't even have to vote in your town, right? You could vote, and you don't have to vote at a. I know you don't have to vote at a specific
no, you
polling
don't.
station.
I think you can vote in your town, but not like a polling station.
Yeah, you could vote at any of the ones within your town.
Because I actually left work at Jabal and went to the one right there. So
Yeah. So
Yeah.
That's a change. I remember as a kid, I had to go
Yeah,
to the
with
one
the-
in Groveland at
did,
the
yep.
Mason's Lodge or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I had to do it then, but
the one your
now I
precinct,
can.
whatever.
There's 2 or 3 around Clover. I could vote any of them. I think actually in Putnam County, but that's the way ours works in our little community. So.
And obviously, we encourage you to check your
Yep.
local area.
Yep,
Because that can be
Voting location is one of the buttons. Find
Yeah.
your polling place is one of the first things you'll see on that website. So,
Or vote absentee. You could do that. Vote absentee if you're afraid that you won't be able to make it or your schedule might change that day. Don't leave that for chance of, I'm planning on it and I'll have just enough time during this period to get there. If you think that you might be, called out for work or whatever, go ahead and do an absentee vote or absentee ballot and vote that way.
yep.
Make
and
sure
if it's
your voice
too
is
late
heard.
for the 7th, this is an election year, so we have the national election coming up, later on in November, and so a lot of this stuff on our ballot right now are primaries and things like that. So we're choosing who we'll be voting for, later on in the year. So while it's pretty close to the date for our primary, it's not close to the November election. So get registered, get involved with the process, and see. Some elections, there's some kind of election almost every year, and so from school boards to local council members and things. So we just want to encourage you in this. Again, politics gets such a bad reputation. I think the media plays a lot of role in that, and politicians play a lot of role in that as well. But it is important what we do. It is such a gift from God to be able to participate in this process. And too many believers sit out and don't participate. And I just don't feel like that's what God would have us to do. In this. So yeah, well, hopefully you enjoyed the conversation today. Voting's important, and we want you to be involved. We're recording this right now. It's a National Day of Prayer, so we're getting ready to head out to go over to our local courthouse for that National Day of Prayer, the festivities there. But thank you so much for joining us. Three Guys in the Bible, and please like, subscribe, and share all of those things. We do have an ever-growing group of people. I need to look at those numbers this week and see, because every platform gives you the number of subscribers on that platform. So thank you for all you're doing to share this, and hopefully this will just encourage you in this political season to go out and to make a responsible decision. Do some research, find out who these candidates are, and help hopefully move your community closer to Christ. And if there's a void, hey, maybe God's calling you or somebody you know to get involved with this process. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great weekend.